Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, college football fans across the nation and around the world. This is Tim May with the Tim May Podcast. And man, do I have a co-pilot of co-pilots. And on this episode, Cornelius Green, Corny Green. What do you prefer, Cornelius?
Well, I grew up with Corny, and then when I got to Ohio State, it became Corny Green. So whatever you prefer, Tim, I'm all good with it.
Let's go with Corny, because that sounds so not corny. That sounds cool. But Cornelius Green, been wanting to have you on this podcast ever since I started it, and finally hooked up with you. And it's just amazing. You were you were a real trailblazer when it came to Ohio State football, being the first African-American starting quarterback, et cetera, back in what do you call that? The mid '70s for Woody Hayes, and then moving on from there. But Corny, I'm glad to have you on, man. Truth in Advertising. You're sitting in Washington, D.C. area at St. Albans School, where you've been for a while, right?
Yeah, this is my in September be my 14th year, Tim, and it's an honor, man, to be back with you, man. You know, you and I have been good friends, and man, when you called, obviously I was going to say yes, and I'm just glad for this opportunity that the time permits for us to get together today.
Amen, brother. I couldn't have said that sermon better, except for the part about praising me. But let's get to you, man. But mainly, first, I want to get your take from not really afar, because you show up at games, you know what I mean? But boy, if they'd played this kind of offense back when you were around, would you have been the starting quarterback? Tell me. Let's be truthful here.
I'd have been the starting quarterback, but hopefully I'd have been up for one of them Heisman's Archie has.
Yeah, exactly.
Because, the game is all around the quarterback now. More wide receivers, no fullback. Unfortunately, we would have had I don't know what would have did with Pete, because he was our big bread and butter back in the day. But
yeah,
can you imagine just me and Archie being back there in that backfield and a bunch of wide receivers, and with my passing and running ability? Oh my God, I just look at these quarterbacks now and just dream about what I would have done with that opportunity, and with these new strategy type coaches and Urban Meyer and Ryan Day, man, these guys, and love my guy Jim Tressel too. I got to throw him out there as well. Yep. But I think I'd have gave Archie a run for his money with that Heisman.
Well, here's the thing. See, I would have kept Pete and Archie in the backfield with you, but I would have thrown the ball 40 times a game. Now, how do you stop Pete and Archie? You know what I mean? Because you got to stop these other guys, Bashnagel, all these other guys, right? That would have been pretty wild, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Tim. And in high school, man, I threw 28 touchdowns. And so, when I was in high school, I saw Rex Kern. I swear in my mind, I saw him scrambling and throwing. Maybe I was the only one that didn't realize Woody was 3 yards in a cloud of dust when I came here. Yeah.
Well, I think Woody's cocoon got thicker the last few years of his career. I don't know if you agree or not, because I think back in your day in those mid '70s, those were four of the greatest teams in Ohio State football history without a national championship. I think you agree with that, right?
You're absolutely right. And when we came up with the big games, and teams were bringing 8-9 men up on the line, and even though we had great coaching, but Woody always thought we can outpower people versus doing play action. We didn't do play action, Tim, until my senior year when we had to. We was down 7 points up at Michigan. My senior year, it was 14-7, 7 minutes left in the game. We hadn't had a first down in 2.5 quarters. Michigan had 10 men up on the line of scrimmage. And finally, Woody, we did some play action to Archie and threw around those guys.
Yeah.
And I think I completed 4 straight passes, and we drove right down and scored. But finally, something woke up in Coach's mind, and he trusted the coaches, and he trusted me to pass.
You know what woke up in his mind was that y'all were behind.
Yeah, well, there you go. We were down by 7.
Yeah,
that kind of woke Coach up as well.
Yeah,
we had no other choice, though, Tim. It was 3rd and 18. Everybody knew he was going to call a draw play.
Yeah.
Which wasn't going to work. So we finally went to some play action that turned the game around.
I was going to say, seriously, Corny, Archie and I have talked about this a little bit. He doesn't get this inflammatory, but that was, in my opinion, a great waste of offensive talent. I'm talking about not Arch, obviously, but the other guys. I mean, wow, what could have been back then, right? I mean, seriously, when you look back on it.
I mean, when you look at, man, we had Lenny Willis who ran like a 9.4.
Yeah.
100. I mean, we had Dave Hazel, who was a speedster, and my best friend who really changed my life, and Brian Bashnagel, was so versatile. He could run and catch and block, and we didn't utilize them, man. I mean, we just used Brian as a decoy like 90% of the game. We used Lenny as a decoy and David Hazel as decoys. And I just look back now and just think we could have won the national championships hand down, very easily. But you know, you had to give the coaches props too, because I think one of the greatest records that we had was when I first started my first game. Archie got 100 yards, and he got 100 yards 31 straight times, 3 years in a row, until Michigan stopped him our last game of the season. So I can see where he was coming from in that regard. You know, he was building up Archie to be the Heisman Trophy winner, which he won too. So, you know, you can't knock that. But I think we could have won much easier if we had just opened the game up much more.
Yeah. Hey, amen. Once again, you're preaching to the choir on that situation. By the way, I just want to jump into it with you too. Dude, USC and UCLA are going to be in the Big Ten. When you first heard that news, your first thought was, huh? What? No. What was your first thought?
Well, you know, it's almost like almost like one of them heart attack moves. You hold your chest and you kind of move back. You know, you just stunned. I was stunned. I never thought that. But then when I looked at it too, Tim, I mean, the Big Ten is really smart. Because if you look at it, Tim, on the East Coast, for example, there's more Big Ten alumni on the East Coast than any other place. So people laugh when they put in Rutgers, but they wanted that New York market.
Yeah.
People laugh when they put in Maryland, but they wanted that DC market. Now with UCLA and USC, they got the LA market. And where's the Big Ten headquarters? In Chicago. That's one of the other big TV markets.
Yeah.
So they go for TV markets. Also, you know, the SEC got great conferences, but if you look at the SEC and all those schools, they don't have any big TV markets in those locations. So the Big Ten, and with the Big Ten network, you know, they getting the TV revenues. So, I mean, I thought it was a smart move. And now I hear that Oregon is trying to sneak in there too. They're a little upset. You know, that Oregon money, that might talk too, Tim, you know, letting them slide into the Big Ten. But I think the Big Ten is really trying to wait for Notre Dame to make a move. But I don't know if Notre Dame can get out of the ACC contractually. But I think they're trying to wait on Oregon and Notre Dame.
Yeah, that would be an interesting addition. By the way, like you said about Oregon, you know, you think they don't have any torque in a situation, but then you'd hate to see Ohio State football players running around out there barefoot, right?
Right.
Nike.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
That'd be funny to watch, wouldn't it?
Right. That'd be really crazy. But
especially in the snow. Go ahead. I'm sorry. What?
Yeah. I just like you said, all those battles in the Rose Bowl that we had against USC and UCLA, and now they be joining in on the conference. But people were talking about travel. You know, that's not an issue.
No.
Because, you know, your kids are 18, 21 years old. Man, you know, they'll jump on that plane, they'll travel and do what needs to be done. I mean, when we played, we flew, I think our third or fourth game, we had a game, night game. We played UCLA. I think we flew over and played the University of Washington, or either Washington State, and got back late Sunday, and you back out there Monday practicing. So, I mean, you under their regime when you're in college, and you just want to play ball, no matter where you got to go and what you got to do. You know, you just want to suit up and get that win.
I was going to say, and plus, you know, for like I keep pointing out, for the Big Ten teams, there might be one trip to the West Coast every other year, you know, in this deal. I'm talking about football wise. Right. Obviously, the other sports, but you can make a swing out there and play USC and UCLA in the same trip, basketball wise, and come back. But football wise, it's not going to be hard at all on the football teams from the original Big Ten, but it's going to be tough on USC, UCLA. Every other game essentially will be a trip east, and so, except when they play each other.
I imagine it. Yeah. Thinking of it from that point, Tim, you're absolutely right. UCLA and USC going to have to be willing to travel, every week,
yeah.
Especially if they on their west side, if they get the east side and the west side, they're going to have to travel to the Iowas and the Wisconsins and the Minnesotas of the world. But I think they're going to get a culture shock when they start traveling in October and November to those cold markets, man. They used to all that sun out there. But I guess the Big Ten will be happy to fly out sometimes when they go to the West Coast and get a warm weather game.
Yeah. It'd be funny to play UCLA in the Rose Bowl in, say, November the 20th, and then go back out there and play in the Rose Bowl in a college football playoff. Probably a quarterfinal then.
Yeah.
Who knows where that's going? Hey, that's what I wanted to ask you too, Corny, is that back then, which of the teams you were on do you think, if there had been a college football playoff, probably would have still made the playoff? You know what I mean? A 4-team playoff. Which of those teams was the best team you played on?
My sophomore year, no doubt about it.
So that was 70.
The 73 team.
73. Yeah. That's what Archie says. Yeah.
That team, Tim, the defense was unbelievable. I think the first 10 games of the season, I think we only gave up 43 points the whole season.
Yeah.
Just think of that. And we was leading the nation in offense, leading the nation in rushing, leading the nation in first down, leading the nation in total offense. And I was astonishing passing. Only passed 44 times, I think 46 times the whole season. The whole season, Tim.
I'm shaking my head.
Doing that in one game now. Can you believe that? 10 games, but he only let me pass 46.
I think C.J. Stroud did that in one half against Utah. But go ahead. I mean, that must make your arm either hurt or feel very fresh. Which one is it, Corny?
Well, my arm stayed in shape, Tim, because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, if you came to practice, man, you thought we was a passing team.
Yeah, I know.
We passed the ball all the time in practice, and then when that game came, and if there were clouds in the sky, oh, man, that's your worst fear if you thought it was going to rain, because we knew Coach Hayes was going to get tight, and that ball was not going to be passed at all during the game.
Let me ask you, I've always wanted to ask you this, Corny, though. Were the game plans back then? Because I've heard that, the stories. Matter of fact, I even, went to practices in 76, 77, 78 when Woody was still there. But were the game plans back then? Do you remember discussing with them the day before the game or night before the game? Was there an intention to pass a lot? Or was there never an intention to pass a lot?
Yes, our intent was to pass, Tim. All week long, Woody was a genius with his coaching staff. I had George Chunk was my quarterback coach. I owe him the world. Rudy Hubbard, recruited me from the D.C. area. Love him. Owe him the world. But, we had an unbelievable game plan. We knew I had audible calls looking for certain defenses to get out of certain plays, and then the plays we got into were pass plays. So I couldn't wait for those defenses to get into those certain defenses. I can call audible and pass, Tim.
Hey, jump into a 5
because the pass plays wasn't being called in the huddle.
Yeah, jump into a 5-10, bring that safety up. You'd yell that across the line, wouldn't you? But that had to be. I'm not trying to get you to pick a sore spot here, but that had to be kind of a bummer, didn't it, Corny?
Yeah, for me personally, I had to, Tim, give up my individual accomplishments that I wanted to accomplish.
Yeah.
So I bought into the team concept, and once you buy into the team concept, you want what's best for the team. And then you want what's best for your teammates. So I just got into whatever the play was called. I was going to do it 100%, even though I might have the handoff or I might have the pitch or get less opportunities. And then, you know, Archie was my roommate, and he was getting the bulk of the plays. He was getting the bulk of the success of the team. And I was just all for him. And you know, he was my best friend, and you know, he's cheering for me as well. And the more success he got, you know, the better I felt. I mean, it was only 3 African Americans in our freshman class, Tim. It was me, him, and Woodrow Roach. And so, I mean, we had to cheer for one another because me, him, and Woodrow were together every day. Every day of our college career was just me, Archie, and Woodrow. And so, and God rest Woodrow's soul, because he just passed about a few months ago. But that was it, man. And then on the other side, Tim, was, you know, my father was an alcoholic, man, and he never came to see me play. You know, Archie's father was like a surrogate father of mine. You know, he was always there for me after every game. So I get a little emotional about that.
Yeah.
That was special for me, for him to come and, you know, give me a hug after every game and say, hey, man, great game. And so he became like a dad figure for me. So that even enhanced me and Archie. You know, so I mean, it wasn't about me. You know, when Archie got his 2 Heismans, man, I mean, it was like I had 2 Heismans. But the kicker was, gave a quick little story where we had this meeting, Tim. So this right before Michigan. So Woody gets up and says, hey, Archie was the MVP his sophomore year on the team, junior year on the team, which made him the Big Ten Player of the Year his sophomore, junior year. And now this is our senior year. So he said, hey, if Archie's MVP our senior year, be the first time, Archie be probably the first player to be MVP sophomore, junior, senior year, not only on the team, but he also could be the first player to be the MVP in the Big Ten his sophomore, junior year. So thank God for Lenny Willis stood up and say, well, Coach, I think Cornelius Green was the MVP.
Wow.
And boy, that took some nerves. You know what I'm saying? So, now we got to have a vote, Tim. They gave everybody a sheet of paper. So you had to put the name down on who you thought was the MVP.
Like on that show, Survivor. Go ahead.
yeah, exactly. So I chose Archie. I put Archie's name down as the MVP. So we didn't find out who won this vote until about 3 weeks later. And the team voted me MVP.
Wow. And
I won by 1 vote, Tim.
Wow.
So Woody made him recount the votes again, because I knew he wanted Archie to win.
Wow.
God rest his soul, because he really wanted Archie to be the first 3-time guy.
Yeah.
But the way he set up the meeting, he didn't want to vote. He just wanted us to say, okay, go along with him, and we elect Archie.
Yeah.
Anyway, I win the MVP. So Woody says, Archie, who do you vote for? Archie said, I voted for Corny. He asked me who I voted for. I said, I voted for Archie. We're in the meeting, Woody still makes Archie the guy, because he said, you know, if Archie votes for himself, he wins the award. And it was still about Archie. It wasn't about me. But still, for me, if you look at it, Tim, you know, being the MVP over 2-time Heisman. So Archie still goes on to win his Heisman.
Yeah.
So, you know, I was MVP over 2-time Heisman. On the team, when your teammates vote you that, man, that's the biggest award I probably ever won. That's even bigger than being voted Big Ten MVP.
Yeah. Wow. That I can draw some analogies to that voting system right there, but I'm not going to, even though you're sitting in our nation's capital. But wow, that's something when the guy who's counting the votes is also the campaign manager for one of the guys.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. Hey, Corny, but you know, it's what I want to get to you with. I know everyone remembers I think it was your Lincoln Continental, right? You showed up, you know, with your personalized license plate on. Huh?
Yeah, everybody now calls it a Lincoln, but it was actually a Grand Prix.
Oh.
And so what had happened, Tim, was I had some problems with the car one time, and this guy that I took my car to have it fixed, he had this Continental kit for the trunk. So you know how the Continentals back there, you just had a little tire looking.
Yes.
Thing. So he changed that. Instead of having Continental, he put Cornelius on.
Yeah.
And then I had Flam 7 tags, but they was Washington, D.C. tags. People assumed they were Ohio tags, but back then you couldn't have personalized license plates from Ohio. So people really took it to another level. Thought I had Ohio tags with my name on it, but it was actually D.C. tags with Flam 7, and then with the Cornelius around that. Man, that took off. Man, made me like a national star just having that car.
Well, there was that famous picture of you, I think, and it's from the back, but you're looking back at the camera, smiling, as you drive in your car. But I just wanted to get your take on, with name, image, and likeness now. I'm sure you saw that in the news. C.J. Stroud has a nice ride now, a Mercedes super wagon or whatever they call it, but. I do know the actual name of it. I don't need to advertise for them too much, but he turned down a Bentley to take that vehicle. And I'm just thinking, man, Corny, if they had a name, image, and likeness back in y'all's time, y'all were famous. I mean,
yes.
You look at the guys on those teams, man. I mean, you and Arch and Pete and, John Hicks, Chris Ward. I mean, Nick Bonamich, what kind of car would he have had? You know what I mean? Or truck. I mean, it would have been crazy, wouldn't it?
Oh, Tim, man, I'd be a millionaire right now for sure. Because I knew someone, someone in the D.C. area would have stepped up.
Yeah.
In addition to folk in Ohio. But we just had so many studs on the team. Just in my sophomore, you're talking about Randy Gradishaw.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God, Neil Cozy, and Doug Plank.
Yeah.
Tim Fox. I mean, we just had a lineup, and I was very, very fortunate to have 3 Hall of Fame left tackles. Kurt Schumacher, John Hicks, and then young Chris Ward happened to come in my senior year.
Yeah.
All them going down. But my main guy on the offensive line was Steve Myers, our offensive center. And I got a little quick story. I think my freshman year, Woody called me up. And so I fumbled the snap, and I blamed it on Steve that I didn't get the snap. And boy, Steve lit me up, man, when we got back in that locker room, because it was my fault. But it was no way I was going to take that grunt from Woody right then. Again, he was just killing me, man. And, got an also as a freshman because couldn't take that pressure. But once I found out. Once I started working on my game and started making mistakes as a freshman, and he felt very comfortable my sophomore year in starting me, everything kind of changed and everything went up from there. Yeah. So, I mean, I just wish I was in this era now. Can you imagine what Archie would have had?
No, it's just crazy. I'll never forget Rex Kern saying he would trade Archie he would like to have one of Archie's Heisman's, and Archie said, well, I'll trade you one of them for the national championship. You know what I mean?
Yeah, tell me about it. Oh, God.
Oh,
yeah,
but I mean,
my sophomore year, we lost 2 national championships back to back.
Yeah.
And then we laid an egg our senior year. We was 11-0, beat UCLA. All we had to do is beat them again.
Yeah.
But, our game plan was just so different. The second time we played UCLA, Coach Hayes just wanted to run. And we didn't have the same game plan. So, it was 3 years in a row. We kind of laid the egg. Not getting the national championship. And it's almost like Groundhog Day, Tim. I wake up, man, we won those games, and I got to come back to reality and accept it that we didn't win. But very proud, Tim, because, we had to get past the school up north to get to the Rose Bowl. And I'm very proud to be 3-0-1. Against Michigan's greatest coach of all time, Bo Schembechler, who is 0-3-1 against us and those 4 great teams we played against. So I'm very proud of that.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm very proud to be one of the only guys to ever play in 4 straight Rose Bowls. That speaks volumes.
Absolutely, it does. By the way, I would call those 3 years you talked about where you didn't get the national championship 3 years in a cloud of dust. Because, oh my goodness, right? Wow, that could have been something, man. I mean, people think the world just got invented, 2 years ago or something, and I mean, there was dominance even back then. I mean, and you were part of that last real great wave for Woody, right? Until it just started to kind of like deteriorate a little bit. I mean, obviously, but hey, I wanted to ask you one other thing about that. Did you guys ever approach Woody about that tightness, about getting, from the big game standpoint, about not throwing the ball? I mean, did y'all ever, or did you just you just didn't do that back then?
Tim, have you ever seen us on the Woody Hayes show?
Yes. Matter of fact, I've got a photo. I took a screenshot. All those guys you just named a minute ago, like Tim Fox and all these guys, y'all look like a rock band, that was on there, but y'all didn't sing.
We could dress like we wanted, but just look at our faces, man.
Yeah.
We were tight.
Yeah.
And Woody would ask us a question and give us the answer.
Yes.
And all we would say is yes, sir, no, sir.
Yes.
So there was no way that we could even approach Coach and say, Coach, can you pass more, this and that? Oh, man, it'd been 70 East for me real quick going back to D.C.
70 East. You got to turn right at Baltimore, right? Oh, my goodness. Hey, last couple things, man. As you look at it right now, with the name, image, and likeness we just talked about, and the transfer portal, how would the transfer portal, do you think, how would that have affected those teams that Woody and his coaches put together back in the mid '70s? Would there have been some guys leaving? I mean, what's just your take of the makeup of that locker room? You know what I mean?
Well, Tim, we was 4 deep. I mean, we had 4 All-American quarterbacks. I mean, if I got hurt, I felt very confident that the next 3 guys in line could go right on in and produce some wins. I don't know if they'd have won as handily as they would if I was in there. But, man, it'd have been a big exit. Huge exit. Because look at our Craig Cassidy had to play behind Neil Cozy for 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Look at Ray Griffin playing behind his brother for 2 years. Then they finally got smart and switched him over and put him as a defensive back. He goes to defensive back and he becomes one of Ohio State's all-time greatest backs, and my little brother Ray Griffin. Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of guys would have been gone. There's no doubt about it. We had people like Doug Plank was playing behind Tim Fox. Yeah. He goes to Chicago Bears and they named the defense after him. So, I think that transfer portal, a lot of guys would have been gone. Yeah,
it's crazy. So that's what I want to ask you. So as you look back, I mean, you're a veteran like I am now, so to speak. Is what's going on for the players right now? It's kind of tough for people to keep a hold of it all, but also to understand it all. And some people are very upset about a lot of things that have happened. But was it a long time coming, the right thing for players to have the ability to move and or to make money on their name, image, and likeness?
Well, I agree on both ends. Tim, you know how much money we got at Ohio State? We got $9 every 3 months for laundry. That was it, man. If I cut your grass and they could prove you paid me $25, my scholarship was gone.
Yeah. Crazy, so, right?
Here we got guys, man. My parents couldn't even afford to go see me play in the Rose Bowl. Here I am busting my butt out there in the field and going to 4 Rose Bowls, and my parents from D.C. couldn't even afford to come out and see me play. They had to watch me at home in Washington, D.C. So I'm all for these kids getting paid. I'm all for a kid upset if he can't play and he can transfer, because you had to look at that, Tim, because the coaches did it. Yeah. A coach could quit on his team and then go take another new job, and he wasn't penalized. And here's a kid that want to transfer. He was penalized for that. Oh, yeah. So I'm all for these kids getting paid right now, and I'm all for them. If they want to transfer that following year, let them do it.
Ohio State's been a hotbed, has used Washington, D.C. to go in and pluck a pretty damn good player, every other year, it seems like. They just got a commitment from Kid Jason Moore from over there, obviously Chase Young, as you well know, and Dwayne Haskins Jr., God rest his soul. Just how did it strike you when you got the news that Dwayne Haskins Jr. had been killed?
Well, I mean, it broke my heart because I was very close to the Haskins family.
Right.
You know, his mom and dad, way closer with his mom and dad than I was with Dwayne. You know, I've never kind of came in, Tim, to talk, or I always let all the quarterbacks kind of develop themselves, you know. But no, I was hurt, man. I'm still hurt about that.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the way it happened and how it happened. So, yeah, I mean, I just remember when I didn't really meet Dwayne in person, Tim, until 2 days before the Rose Bowl game when they was playing Washington. And he was coming into the hotel. I came right up to him and say, "Hey, I'm Cornelius Green. How you doing, man?" He just broke out in this huge smile. You know, most kids don't know nobody. And here I am 4 decades ago.
Yeah.
And he smiled, took a picture with me, and then he went into his pocket, pulled out his phone and said, "Please, can somebody take a picture with me and Mr. Green?" And then the next day he puts out this huge tweet and thanked me for being first African-American quarterback, saying if it wasn't for me, he wouldn't have the opportunity to play there. Huge, man.
Wow. Hey, last thing I want to hit, Corny, I've never asked you this question. I'm going to ask you now. When when they came and recruited you, and they recruited you as a quarterback, right?
Yes.
Right. And then when Woody made you the starter your sophomore year, did anybody explain to you the gravity of the situation of you being the first African-American quarterback at Ohio State, starting quarterback? Did it ever hit you? Did you ever catch any ramifications from it? What was, just take us back there in a time capsule of how that all came down.
Well, you know, I knew that, and what sold me to come to Ohio State was when my recruiting visit, Woody asked me what I wanted to major in. But first he looked at me and thought I was too small and thought I might get hurt. But he said, "Well, Rudy Hubbard loves you, so I'm going to go with that. But one thing I'm going to just promise you, if you're good enough, you'll play it. If you're not, you won't." And he took me over to the business office. I had to stay over there for 2 hours. And all I wanted to do, Tim, was see that stadium, you know, in the locker room, man. I said, and so when I came home, I told my mom, I said, "I don't know if they want me, Mom." It was just all academics. And that my mom made my decision for me. So that's where you're going. All your recruiting trips, all you do is talk about how great the team was and da-da-da-da. But once I signed and got here, Tim, man, my freshman year was awful, man. I mean, I was averaging 50, 60 letters a week from the Klan, and folk who were very disgusted with me being the first black quarterback. It intensified when they knew I was going to start. You know, the death threat calls were over the phone, and which was consistent, man. And, you know, I was 18 years old, drove me to an ulcer. You know, I was trying to keep all that in. I didn't let guys like yourself in the media know that because I thought it would get even worse.
Yeah.
And then, you know, that decision, Tim, could have divided the team because Greg Hare was a senior.
Yeah.
And my good friend, you know, he was my mentor too, taught me a lot. And, you know, I was all for Greg too. He was a senior. Greg had beaten Michigan that previous year, took us to the Rose Bowl. And I didn't have any experience. But what had happened, Tim, to put me up there with Greg was the spring game that we had. So Woody had his stacked team with Greg, Pete, and Archie over there in the spring game. And I was with a bunch of third stringers. And I only played 2 quarters, but I had rushed for 150 yards, rushed for 2 touchdowns. I threw 2 touchdowns. So when we came back to camp, Greg was a starter in the morning, and I was a starter in the afternoon practice. And unfortunately, he pulled a hamstring, I think, a week or 2 before the game. So I was first team, you know, going into the Minnesota game. But the funny thing, I don't know if it's funny or not, but we beat Minnesota 56-7 our first game. And, Tim, I never got another letter or another call after that.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Hallelujah, as they say.
Yeah.
That's what struck me, man. You just said it a while ago when you were recruited, there were 3 African-Americans in your recruiting class.
Right.
And now, thank goodness, man. You think about careers that could have been made that weren't back then, even when I was growing up in Alabama and Texas, finally moved to Ohio, in 76. But, I saw it all, man. And it's just amazing that it finally came around. But now it's not a question of, skin color. It's a question of, can your arm hold up throwing the ball 50 times a game?
There you go. It's all about that W now, no matter what color you are. But, I'm very proud, Tim, to have gone through what I did, to change the complexity of Ohio State University. You see it now, the best guy plays, and that's how it is, no matter what color you are. Hopefully people would look back one day and see the significance that what I did and what I went through. And maybe they should honor me in that regards for that. And I'm coming up into my 50-year reunion coming up this actual year with the 72 team, my freshman class. So, it was a huge breakthrough, Tim, and I'm very proud of that. Don't get pat on the back for it like I maybe should. And I'm not looking for that pat on the back now. I just like the changes that's been made, and thank God for that.
Too bad I can't reach through here and pat you on the back, but I think I patted you on the back before every time. That's my big deal. Is I'm one of those kind of guys. But
you know how our love for one another is, man. I feel you on that.
Hey, Corny, man, there's nothing corny about Corny Green, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, Cornelius Green, thank you for joining the Tim May podcast, my man.
Tim, you made my day, bro. And going back in time, man, with some smiles and obviously having some FaceTime with you, man, has been a joy for me as well, my brother.
Well, we'll hook up, man, when you come into town the next time. But
I'll send you an email. I'll be up for the Notre Dame game. Let's get together.
Yeah, I've heard they're opening with Notre Dame. I heard there was a rumor about that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the great Corny Green. This is Tim May with the Tim May podcast. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you again next week.